Go! The Angry Chicken is a production of Amove TV. Bookmark amove.tv for more gaming and esports shows. The Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you via patreon.com/TAC.
I've got the beast in my sight. A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is the Angry Chicken.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. It means it is tack time. We are back for another episode of The Angry Chicken. I'm Garrett Weinzerl. He's Willie Dills Gregory. She's Jocelyn Moffat. I'm done with intros. We can start the show now. We can start the show. How you two doing? It's I would say it's kind of like it is kind of a quiet week. I feel like this is our last quiet episode before we have too many cards to talk about on an episode.
Yeah, and even then we weren't expecting the live stream until the 26th. So the fact that we even have cards to talk about right now is a little bit unexpected. Not many cards, but we got a couple cards.
We do. Sure. We do have a few. And it's fine. It kind of ends up working out pretty well for our schedule. I mean, the 26th is next Monday, so we'll have a ton of cards probably to talk about a week from now. But yeah, we do have some cards to talk about.
It has been a busy week as far as just Hearthstone in general, but it's just not been busy as far as most people are concerned because it's all been in Arena.
Yes.
But Arena's just been like all over the place lately. And it was weird going on to watching streams, and it was like Brian Kibler was playing Arena all day long, every single day. So a couple good things happened, a couple bad things happened, and it was very weird. But I had a blast. I had a blast doing all of it. And just kind of knowing that Arena was being taken seriously. It's very cool.
Yeah, I think it's like perfect timing, right? The meta is what the meta is going to be. And I think a lot of us, as far as constructors, are just like, all right, we're ready for the expansion. Kind of bored with the meta right now. And they bring in all these Arena updates on top of tweaking it very quickly. It's just kind of seems like it's pushing us in that direction. Unless you're
how have you guys been doing with the ladder updates? By the way, I don't know if I've ever checked in with you guys since this is the first real month where you start. And it's funny. I thought, okay, well, I'll just like blast to legend real quick, and then I noticed that what happened is I procrastinated instead. So I was a rank 7 at the beginning of the season, and I'm rank 3. That's really not that much work that I put in.
I grinded a lot in the very beginning to hit 5, and it took more games than I want to admit. And once I hit 5, I just started playing Arena.
Okay. Yeah, that's the other thing, too. All the Arena stuff happened, and every time I log into Hearthstone, I just want to do that now. So...
Yeah, I
my motivation.
At the beginning, like when everything rolled over on the first, I was like, cool, let's grind, but I'm a little bored with Paladin, so let me play something else, and then I just didn't climb, so then I switched back to Paladin, put a bunch of games in, eventually made it to 5, and I'm just kind of bored with ladder. Because for me, Paladin's the only thing that really seems to be at least efficient.
Both versions right now are kind of the best decks if you're just trying to get there, I think, because you can beat Warlock with them as long as you can just get there before they set up the wall.
A good start just runs away with it for sure.
Run a couple spell breakers and just get that last bit of damage in. But I think that's the other thing too is I'm not having that much fun when I'm playing the ladder, right? And Arena I was having a blast. So every time I swap over and I'm like, it's like a chore, right? And that's just how it feels at the end of any cycle, right? Any expansion cycle. So I'm not too concerned. It's like, but I do feel like the changes to the ladder are super sweet because I can just tread water until the next set comes, and then I'll already be, rank 7 again, right? So I won't have to like grind all the way up to start playing meaningful games.
Yeah, I feel very much the same way, but I think it's fine. Like I'm not sitting here thinking it's a bad thing that I'm necessarily bored of, that it feels a little bit chore-like. It's the nature of the beast, right? We're sitting here on the doorstep of the next standard year. It's about to get real nuts. Yeah. We just need to be a little bit patient. So, and the fact that it's really it was last week, I think, when I finally hit me that I'm like, yeah, I'm bored with ladder. Usually it happens like a month ago or 2 months ago. This time it took, I think, a significantly longer time for me to kind of reach that equilibrium. I will say I dipped my toe into Wild today. And have you guys seen this Kobold Illusionist Rogue? Because it might be the most fun thing I've ever played.
Yeah, It's so Dane was actually the guy who I think created that deck. The guy we had on a few weeks ago talk about Wildfest.
That fact eluded me entirely.
Yeah, so basically, it was running Silver Vanguards and stuff too. It's pretty nutty. It's like if you think about what Hearthstone kind of is at this point. Every deck is just trying to cheat out more powerful stuff than it should have by, the earlier turns, right? It's trying to get 8 drops out before it's turn 8, right? That's kind of like what everyone is doing. You're ramping in some way or another, right? And think about even aggro decks like Crystal Lions for 2 or whatever. So what that deck is trying to do is just do a big rogue. So it pulls out the what is it, Kobold Illusionist? Yeah. And that pulls some random thing out of your deck that sometimes pulls an 8-drop. So
so it's got it's got Lich King, Sneasel Shredder, Kel'Thuzad, Yashiraj, Sylvanas, and then it finally then we start moving down into lower things. Or no, sorry, there's also Ragnaros. There's a bunch of giant
because it is wild.
Yeah, there's a bunch of giant.
Gotta put in Swagnaros again.
Yeah, it's a bunch of giant minions in here, and then it's it's got things like Baron. And the Kel'Thuzad can cause just some serious BS with the Kobold Illusionist. Like I ended up.
When you get Kobold Illusionist pulls the Kel'Thuzad and then brings back the Kobold Illusionist, that's pretty sweet.
And especially if and then you just never play your Kel'Thuzad, and your endless conga line of Kobold Illusionists just keep bringing Kel'Thuzad back, sure. And eventually you draw Ragnaros. And all these 1/1 Ragnaroses are coming out into the field, hitting for 8. They kill them, and then they come back as 8/8s because Kel'Thuzad.
They come back as the full strength, exactly. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty interesting interaction. But the problem with the deck is it still gets just completely destroyed by like Big Priest and Giants Warlock. But this is what Wild allows you to do, right? Which is create these weird interactions that just kind of that's why I remember we had an email about. Oh, should we not allow standard cards in Wild? And it's like, no, this is why it's so cool, because a new card like Kobold Illusionist comes out, and it creates all these weird interactions, right? Mm-hmm. That's the fun of Wild, is finding that stuff. That's what Dane is so good at. He's like a little mad scientist when it comes to Wild decks.
Yep. Yeah, so I'll include a link to that. If anyone hasn't already seen the deck list, I'm sure if you look anywhere where Wild deck lists can be found, you'll probably find this thing. But it's rad. It's very cool. If you don't,
we should announce the taco before we actually get into the news too, right? Did we do that?
Oh, totally, absolutely, yeah. The next taco for Kobolds and Catacombs, or what tagline have you come up with this time, Dills?
So we're calling this one. The official name now is Take Taco. So yeah, I was gonna call it Taco Caco, but then I just didn't want to have to keep saying that over and over again. So we're going with Take Taco. It'll be on March the 31st, which is a Saturday, I believe. Am I correct?
Yeah, you are correct.
It's two weeks from now, essentially, or 1 week from Saturday.
Just under 2 weeks, yeah.
A week and change.
And it's going to be Conquest again, 4 decks, ban 1, and standard format on the NA servers. Sorry, EU. I know. One day, maybe. But it should be a lot of fun. We've got, and this time we're not going to be giving out the BattleNet cards. We're just going to gift you packs directly into your account. So it should be a lot easier for Garrett. Yeah.
I don't have to wait in line at Walmart behind human beings with plastic physical cards.
To go outside. Come on.
I know.
I like going outside. I just don't like going to Walmart.
It's going to be so much easier for us. So thank you, Blizzard, for putting that into the game. That's pretty sweet. And I will be streaming once again the Final Four. Not sure if Joss or Garrett will be there, but if not, I'll find a co-streamer or something like that, somebody to cast with me, and should be a lot of fun. I think last time I said that we weren't going to cast the Final Four until at least 8:00. I'm just going to cast it when it's done, because people just wanted to get it over with. They didn't want to we might take a short break for dinner if it's going really long or something, but basically we won't know exactly when it's going to be, but I'll have the brackets going live while it's happening so people can kind of keep up with what's going on. I'll be tweeting all day about it, and you won't get a link to join if you're not a patron. until I believe the 25th or whatever. It's that actual week is when non-patrons will be able to start signing up. Yeah.
Right.
So patrons, keep your eyes open on our patreon.com/TAC because that's where you guys will find the link to join, and it should be a lot of fun. We had a lot of people last time, and hopefully we have a lot of people again this time. But it'll cap at 128, so get in there.
Yep. Let's close out the Year of the Mammoth with a bang, or at least a candle lighting, I guess.
Sure.
It doesn't sound as exciting.
A soft glow.
Yes. Yes. And then Decker Kane will come in and tell you about a creepy monster that I wrote about. But, well, all right. There's actually quite a few things happening in the Hearthstone world right now, a lot of which is not expansion related. So let's get into this week's news.
Good news, everyone!
But the first bit is expansion related. The first card reveal live stream, as Joss already mentioned, will be happening next Monday, March 26th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Going to be happening on Twitch, as always, and this is going to kick off reveals from press and members of the community that are not us.
Again,
yes. So, yeah, next week, I have a feeling the majority of our episode will just be talking about cards.
Yeah, I kind of hope we see. Usually, when they do the live stream, it reveals everything, right? So,
no,
like if they don't reveal all of it on it, they usually show you stuff that they didn't see, right?
So they usually do one that's like, there's one at the beginning and one at the end. So this is the beginning one.
I kind of just want to see them all, man. I'm serious. Like I still feel that way. It's like just show us all the cards.
Yep. I think we usually get in the first live stream, it's somewhere between like 10 and 15 cards. So.
Yeah, that's true. This one won't be the gameplay one. It'll just be them just revealing some stuff. Yeah, okay.
Answering questions.
I was excited.
Yeah. No, the big one probably won't be like if we think that April 12th is actually the release date, then the big live stream reveal probably won't be until like maybe even the 9th or possibly like the end of the week before. So like the 5th or 6th maybe. But yeah. Got a ways to go before the big, huge shablah of all the cards.
Boo.
If it's coming
still better
out,
than it used to be. It's condensed into like 2 weeks.
I was gonna say if it truly is coming out in the middle of April, for the sake of the show, I'm perfectly happy with this because I don't know how we would do it otherwise. But yeah,
fair enough.
Anyways, tune into that, see new cards, or don't, because we'll talk about it on the next episode. Anyway, let's talk about Arena, because Arena received some adjustments. And before we get into that, Dills, you want to do like in case you missed it, for those who weren't covering or keeping up with just what in the hell the public opinion was on the new Arena draft?
So basically the only thing that really was supposed to have changed, that we were told, was that now the picks were going to be of equal value, not rarity. Rarity was not going to define each pack of 3 that you see. It was going to be based on them all being somewhat, power levels being equal. And,
right. The exception being legendaries.
Sure. But they didn't. Yeah. Legendaries are all still coming in packs of 3, but they were going to try to give you 3 equally powerful legendaries too, right? But then they also did say that there would be less, lower than like less bad and mediocre cards offered, right? So that's all we really knew about that. We didn't know that they were going to just dump legendaries on our heads. That's basically what ended up happening.
We in our first draft that we did last week before the show, we got 3 legendaries. They were So we saw 9 over the course of 3 picks, and they were all pretty much bad. Like they weren't great legendaries, and they were
didn't get the best. No.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're still legendary cards. They still do very, unique things. And in the course of the next couple days, when I was playing, I played a ton of Arena over the next couple days after this change hit. I got tons and tons of drafts where it was just sick with legendaries. Everybody I played against was playing legendaries. Not only that, everybody was playing insane board clears, insanely powerful neutral minions. The decks were bananas. They were just ridiculous. And
not bananas in like a fun way, like woo, yay! It's like, oh my god, really?
It depends on who you talk to, because my decks were all bananas too, but it was just kind of like I know some people had loved it. Some people had a blast with it because they were just like, oh my god, this is crazy. Everything is just out of control. And there was a few times where I was having a lot of fun with it too, but it did kind of, if you played a lot of Arena, the people who played tons of Arena, they got fed up with it pretty quick because to them it felt like their competitive mode that they treat competitively, that they take very seriously, just turned into a clown fiesta, right? It was just, did I draft a more broken deck than my opponent? Did I draw all my more broken things than my opponent drew? Okay, I won. And so they were feeling like all of the skill of playing the deck was being taken out. And Adwood posted on Reddit and kind of summed it all up and gave 5 points of what these were the things that he thought about the update. And most people agreed with pretty much his premise, all of his basic premise. But I disagree with his final one. We can talk about it in a little bit. But the drafting experience was much improved. The actual experience of picking the cards definitely went, like, that worked. That got better. Then you started to play your deck, and you felt like it wasn't very fun, right? So that's a problem. Like, it should feel fun to play the deck that you draft. Like, you should feel excited about the choices you made, and then you should go into Arena and feel like that you make better choices during the gameplay, you can eke more wins out of a deck than maybe you're supposed to, right? But instead, people were taking these really crazy decks and then going 3-3 with them. They're like, how did I go 3-3 with this deck that's just full of broken stuff? It's like, oh, because everyone else's deck is that much more insane than mine.
Because 9% of the decks I'm going up against has Lich King in it. That's why.
Yeah, sure. And so, that all of that kind of put together just ended up not being as good of an experience as people wanted. So they've made an adjustment, and they actually did it really quickly. This happened, I think it was Clown Fiesta Arena for 2 days. And then all of a sudden it went back. And it was funny because I felt it before I knew that this had happened. Before I saw the announcement of the hotfix, I drafted an Arena deck and I was like, what's happening? Where are all my broken cards? And then the problem was that because not everybody finishes their Arena runs like the day they draft the deck, I went in to play it, and people were still playing the broken decks against me. And I had, kind of a regular old deck again.
Man, I played this.
Right, the hotfix didn't wipe out everyone's decks, right?
It didn't restart everyone's runs. Yeah, exactly.
No, I went up against. I crapped out in a 1-3 run just this morning because I'm looking at these decks. I'm like, you didn't. You just sat on that.
I know. I took a couple days off of Arena when I found out about the hotfix because as much as I wanted to dive right in and see how it felt now, I knew what I was going to face. It was kind of like when they switched to standard Arena and people were still playing wild decks. And, you just felt like you didn't have a chance against those. So it should be kind of leveled out now. So hopefully everything will be okay at this point. But basically they just kind of rolled back on that whole you won't draft bad cards thing. You will now draft below average much more often, and legendaries are happening much less often. So the power levels being similar, that all is still there. I think that does need tweaks too, though. I don't know how many drafts you guys did, but I did a bunch, and basically it was like the amount of options got real small, right? You would see the same 3 cards all the time.
Yeah.
Because they're always supposed to be up against cards that were similar quality. There's only a certain number of cards that they deemed of similar quality. So all of a sudden it felt like there was some sameness to the experience, right? Whereas before, it was always 3 different cards, right?
Do you mean like sameness like from draft to draft or within the same draft?
Within in the same draft, like let's say Warrior I'd use as one example. It was like Mithril Spellstone up against Fiery War Axe and Arcanite Reaper. Like you get that exact same or Slam and something or whatever. Like it would be those 3 cards over and over and over again because those were the 3 cards of that quality, I guess.
That power level.
Yeah, and so you just were seeing those same picks constantly. And they need to. I think they need to widen the gap a little bit so that you get a little bit more differentiation.
So have
between packs.
Bad, decent, and good, and then have all the cards fall in one of those 3 categories.
Great, I don't know. Like right now, it seems like if they have, I don't know if they actually have a tier score assigned to these cards or anything like that.
It'd be great to know.
But I mean, it's like let's say that these are the 3 top cards. Like, don't always put those together. Now maybe widen it up to 8 cards or something like that, and you can put any of those 8 together in a pack. And I don't know. It's tricky, I know, especially when you don't have the amount of cards you would have if it did go back to like wild. You'd probably have a lot more variety in your packs because there's just more cards that technically land in the same power level, right? But with standard, there's not as many, and it's probably even going to be less when we get the Year of the Raven. So that's one thing I kind of want to see. Or
I guess 2 expansions and adventure rotating out. That's a lot of cards to leave the arena pool.
Yeah, so I encourage anyone who's really interested in this to read Adwakta's post. He made some really interesting points in it, and I thought it was really well. He's had a history of maybe not making his arguments in the best fashion. So
that's putting it mildly.
It's clear he's learned from that. Yeah,
I was gonna say, yeah, he in the past he's been a little bit blunt,
a little rough around the edges. Yeah,
one may even say.
But he basically he's learned, his arguing style has gotten a lot better now, and especially like he's getting responses from the devs and everything. So, so basically he made 5 points. Basically, drafting sets of equal power level is better, and so that's his first. So he starts with the positive. Then he says that too many legendaries result in lower skill in gameplay, and I definitely agree. That's what happened. It was kind of like, did I draw my Lich King? Did I not draw my Lich King?
Did I draft the Lich King?
Yeah, exactly. Did I draft Lich King? I had a deck with 2 Deathwings in it, by the way.
What?
Yeah.
You know what I've always wanted to do,
Dils? Not synergize with each other.
I was about to say, do you know what I've always wanted to do? I've always wanted Deathwing to discard my Deathwing.
Yeah. I had one game where we were playing Deathwing Chicken because the guy mind visioned me, and I knew that he got my Deathwing. And so we were both like just not playing our Deathwings because you had to play it once the other guy played his, then you knew you'd play yours.
I mean, that's
so we knew we both had Deathwings, right? Then I drew my second Deathwing, and my guy in chat was like, just play your first Deathwing and then Deathwing his Deathwing when he. And I was like, no,
doesn't work like that.
Deathwing works.
Deathwing doesn't have Deathwing immunity.
Yeah, sorry, man.
I mean, that is, however, one of the coolest things I've ever heard of in Hearthstone. Like, I knew he had a Deathwing. He knew I had a Deathwing. And we were just staring at each other like, you go first. No, you go first. I'm not pulling the trigger. Well, I'm not pulling the trigger, so you pull the trigger.
You basically were trying to make the board big enough that he had to Deathwing, right?
Right.
So it was like this back and forth game of trying to build. It was very, very cool.
Oh, that's so great.
So his third point, Adwakta's third point, too many powerful cards result in lower skill in gameplay. So again, that's kind of 2 similar points. Just
so his 2 and his 3 concern have been directly addressed.
Yes.
By the hotfix.
Yes, and then his fourth point. So yeah, those two basically are now fixed. The fourth point that he made was that lack of transparency also results in a lower skill in gameplay. And so that he's talking about the lack of information that they give us about offering rates, right? So
right, so you're being reactive, right? Instead of trying to predict what your opponent might have, it's like you have no way to know.
Sure. And also it really does make it more difficult to determine the power level of a card. Should I pick this card? Am I likely to get offered again? Or do I need to pick it now, the chance I get to pick it? Like these types of things, they do result in players, like more informed players make better decisions. The more informed players who can analyze that data properly are more skillful at making those decisions, right? So it adds to the skill level of Arena just by giving us more information. So I do agree with him there as well. But then he had this point at the end, implementing equal tier list deck scores now that we have the technology. So what he's suggesting is that the game itself adjust the picks it's offering you based on what you've already gotten, so that at the end, if they had a tier score that's similar to what Hearth Arena gives you, everyone would be like a 75. Like every deck would end up being the same tier score, right? I disagree with this. Because this takes out way more variance, and you end up with this like sameness problem that I talked about with the packs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, you would then basically, if that were the case, there would be points where I guess you could use this technology in a way to add a little skill, like where I could pick a worse card, knowing that it would increase the value of my next cards or something like that. But this then changes it from like a limited format to something different, right? This changes it to like, I don't even know what. It's not what limited really is all about, right? Limited is all about.
Yeah, it's not quite constructed, but it's not quite
Yeah,
Arena.
Right, and
some
doesn't
weird hybrid thingy.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't mind this as another feature, another game type, but I don't think I want it in my arena.
And that kind of reinstates the issues that were just addressed.
Sure,
in a roundabout way. Yeah, I'm with you on this. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
then it just becomes all about drawing your better cards, right? Like, I don't know.
Regardless of the power level of your deck, if everyone's just the same.
Yeah, it becomes closer and closer to constructed at that point.
Yeah,
yeah.
Also, if you want to play a game where everyone's on an equal playing field, well, guess what? There's this game called Checkers. It's amazing. Everyone has the exact same power level as everybody else. The only advantage is if you go first or second. To me, it's like, I don't know. That's like that, like defeats the point of like card games to me in a way, right?
Yeah.
Where
I
you want to sometimes feel like, oh, I got a really good draft here. Like, this is awesome. Now I get to go play, like a really fun arena run because I got super lucky. And then, yeah, sometimes you get a bad draft. But the idea is that most of the time it's pretty similar,
What if they're, instead of taking his idea and instead of applying it to kind of leveling off the power level of all decks, what if it was used as like an additional matchmaking tool? So instead of just like, I'm 8 and 2, so I play other 8 and 2s. What if it was like, okay, well, my deck's power level is 100, so I play other power level 100 decks?
That I'm more interested in.
Yeah, I've talked about this in the past that they should have that as kind of an extra level of matchmaking, but not force it down your throat, right? But like sometimes you'll be at 0 and 2, and you'll be like, and then you'll play some amazing deck, and you're like, how is this guy? Like, okay, I guess this guy's 0 and 2. But holy crap, like our decks are not matched up at all. Yeah. And it's like, if you have a really good deck and are 0 and 2, maybe try to find the other people who have really good decks that are also 0 and 2 as part of your matchmaking, but don't.
Yeah, your record as the first part, and then your deck power level is the second part, and try to get an even match.
Like without 100% rigidity, yes. But have that as another factor, right? Of course, when you get to like 11, like I had a couple of 12 wins when it was the crazy stuff, and when you get to 11, it's like, well, just find me another 11-win guy because there's not that many of them out there, right? But when you're 0 and 2, there's tons of other 0 and 2s. Like, I'm sure we could add another factor.
I'm always in that pool.
Yeah, that's where I live, man.
That's actually just where I go to say hi to you, Joss. I'm just like, I'm gonna get down to 0 and 2.
It's really frustrating to be 0 and 2 and then face a deck and be like, well, what? Like, how? How am I supposed to beat this guy's deck at 0 and 2? Because you feel like you're supposed to play decks that are similar to yours in strength at that point, but sometimes that's not how it works. Sometimes they have a really good deck and maybe they drew badly 2 games, or maybe they suck at arena, or I don't know, like they got unlucky, something like that. Yeah, I get it. And you don't necessarily want to penalize them because they got unlucky twice, but also the game isn't fun for I think either player, right? When the decks are just so far apart. So. That'd be kind of cool.
My last thought, getting back to making the picture seeing less samey deals, what you were talking about now probably 10, 15 minutes ago, was I had a thought, like there's still a bias towards showing you class cards in Arena, right?
Yeah.
What if they relax that? I feel like that would help a lot. I think that because there's more neutral cards than there are class cards for any one class that you're playing. So if they relax that to show us more neutrals, I feel like that's one route they could experiment.
It's possible. I think the reasoning behind not doing it is that they want you to feel like you're playing Druid when you pick Druid, right? Like they want you to feel like you're playing Mage when you pick Mage. So I do see your point. Like relaxing it a little bit might be a good thing. I think relaxing all of the bonus stuff would be a good thing because you would see a lot more
variety.
I mean, I want to feel like I'm playing Arena, and frankly, I can't tell you the last time I saw a friggin' Yeti. I miss my Yeti.
I'm wondering though, because like the power level of class cards tends to be just like slightly higher. So if you were offering more neutrals alongside class cards, I feel like you still wouldn't get a lot of variety because you're just going to get the more powerful neutrals, right? And then everyone's going to pick the same powerful neutrals because they're up against class cards. So when you take rarity out of it and just look at power level, then I think that might create a problem.
Well, if the system's working correctly, they should be the same power level. Not all neutrals are instantly better than a class card.
Yeah, like you put bone.
Well, no, I know, but like if the class card level is here, then there's only a few neutrals that are actually going to be high enough to be offered alongside class cards, right? So then that's probably going to be the same across all 9 classes. So if everyone has, class cards and the neutrals that line up with class cards, that pool of neutrals is going to be really small.
Now I'm following you.
That's my point.
You're talking about a homogenization across all
Yes,
decks.
exactly. Like saying, just even though, you would think you'd get more neutrals, but maybe you actually wouldn't because they're looking at power level now instead of rarity.
Sure. But if you do that as well as do my suggestion earlier of opening up the differentiation between the packs, right?
Yes.
So like if there is a tier score assigned to it, and right now they're only offering you cards that are between 100 and 90, make it, like 105 and 85, and then you've got something more cards go within that pack, right? So, I think we're going to see a lot more iteration on this. This is just kind of the first step after making. Look, when we had, what was the thing that they did?
Synergy picks?
Oh man, synergy picks.
No.
Yes, remember synergy.
Had you
picks.
said what was the worst thing that they ever did, I would have known exactly
so they did
what you're
that.
talking
That lasted months, right, before they finally went back on that. This was 2 days, and they immediately responded to the criticism that they were getting, and so that's really cool. And I expect we're going to see a lot more iterations. So
yeah,
it's something to be monitored. I think I encourage everyone out there who's not played a lot of Arena in the past because you just think you don't like it, get in there and start playing it, because I think if we have a lot more people playing it, they'll spend a lot more time messing with it and making it the best it can be and fun for everyone.
Yeah, I agree.
It is really fun right now. It's the most fun I've been having in Arena for a while. Just the drafting alone is, whether the gameplay has been made worse or not, the drafting alone is far more interesting.
I've had pretty much nothing but bad runs, and I still think that this is an improvement. Like, I'm just like,
Sure,
I've had a bad time in Arena, and I'm still looking at this being like, yeah, this is a lot better.
Yeah.
Even though I'm getting...
Yeah, I mean, I went 12 a couple of times, but I also had tons and tons of 2 and 3s and 3 and 3s and all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, it's been rough. I think 3 is the most wins I've gotten so far.
All right.
Yeah, getting my butt kicked. But I have to ask you, do you guys feel a little less ragey, like all of the rage has been removed from your soul?
Yeah, our whole card doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They nerfed the angry chicken.
In case you missed it, enrage is going away. Just the keyword, not the effect. So just before the show today, Peter Whalen posted a new designer insights onto the official Hearthstone site, announcing that the keyword enrage is leaving Hearthstone. He explained that the functionality of current enrage cards is not changing. It's just their text. He even gave the example using the Angry Chicken card, saying that it will now read has +5 attack while damaged. So, to quote him, he said, our goal with this change is to clean up the game a little by removing a keyword we weren't using much. He went on to give some kind of pointers, basically that, hey, Enrage is currently only on 9 cards. Haven't added any, I think, since GVG. Wayland expects Poisonous and Lifesteal to be permanent keywords in case you start running around with like, oh my god, they're taking away Enrage. What else are they going to take away? You can expect those to be pretty safe. I would also say Death Rattle and Battle Cry, probably pretty freaking safe. And that they haven't made any cards that key off of Enrage minions, and they are not likely to in the future. So if this seemed like a nail in the coffin of Enrage, it seems to have been confirmed as the final nail in the coffin for Enrage.
It sounds like they basically are planning not to use this mechanic anymore, really, which is kind of weird. It's a mechanic that's fairly, I don't know, just common in card games. Like something. I mean, obviously in games like Magic where the damage doesn't stick, this doesn't really make a lot of sense, right? But in a game like this where the damage does stick, I think it creates interesting things. And it kind of made me think, like, why haven't they just done more interesting things with Enrage, right? Like, why not Enrage Stealth? Enrage Discover a card. Enrage, there's all sorts of things you could do. And basically I get it that you could just write that out if you really wanted to, but they just kind of gave up on it, right? And then it didn't explore the space. And maybe just the space didn't make sense. Maybe they did try some stuff and the cards themselves were problematic or something, but I don't know. It's not something that I really considered, but once I started thinking about it, I was like, oh my god, there's so much more you could do with this.
Well, all the enraged minions, but all the enraged minions are very much like just add attack, right? When they get damaged, versus like they did mention like the damage
effect.
effects.
Wind Fury sometimes.
Yes, yeah.
I think that's what Dills is getting at, is that yes, that's the case right now with only 9 cards with Enrage, but why not take it more interesting routes. What if it's enraged? It gains a death rattle. Like, I don't know.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and
absolutely.
I mean, we do kind of have stuff like that. And I think one of the examples they gave was rot phase. So it's like it does something right away when it takes damage, as opposed to like the enrage effects that like you have to wait to get your turn back before something happens.
But
so
no, but the idea is
developing
that
in there.
enrage can only happen to a minion once, right?
Yeah.
Whereas those cards like are different because like you can balance it around the fact that it can only be enraged one time, unless you can heal it and re-enrage it, right? Mm-hmm. So like to me, that's kind of an interesting thing. I do understand that there's certain aspects of that that's not going to work because when it's not your turn, what are you supposed to do? Discover something, right? But things like enrage recruit, I mean, that could happen on the opponent's turn if like they deal damage to it and doesn't kill it, and then boom, here comes a minion, right? So you could think of it more as like I have to kill these in one attack, or else they're going to do the thing. So I don't know. It just seems to be like there's space that wasn't explored, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm not too upset about this. It's just
they're not getting rid of the minions. It's not like those cards just no longer exist. They still do all the same things they used to do.
Please don't get rid of the angry chicken. Not sure I can handle that.
It's literally the rank 25 thing too, so I think we're fine.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dills. Follow my concern. Yeah. No, my kind of gut reaction is, I have really no opinion about this. It's not a big deal, but it's strange. Strange was you sent the link and I'm like, wait, what? Before I read it, I'm like, why just leave it alone, who cares? But sure,
they do have this weird fear of keywords, don't they?
I don't.
It's kind of an irrational keyword fear in games like in Eternal. There's an interesting thing where the amount of keywords on a card sometimes has an effect. So like a card will say things like, when a minion with 2 or more keywords attacks, gain +1/+1 this turn, cool. And things like that. So you try to play minions with lots of keywords on them, right? So suddenly like the 1/1 flying Aegis Death Touch or whatever. I think it's called Death Touch in that game. I can't remember now. Like suddenly that card, or like Lifesteal or whatever. Suddenly like that card is now good because you compare it with the other card, and the amount of keywords it has on it matters. So there's like tons of space that hasn't been explored here. So we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. I they keep adding them, and then but this be like just this one time, just for this one expansion, then never again.
Well, yeah, and because my brain goes to Inspire. I'm just like, well, then you're not running to include anything with Inspire on it, so why is that still in the game?
Joust.
Well, Joust never had its own keyword.
Joust never said Joust.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
They just called it that. And
that was a weird one.
We had the same conversation,
but never put it in the game.
Yeah. We had the same conversation in reverse back in TGT, which is why doesn't Joust have a keyword? But sure, whatever. I'm just scratching my head. When I asked for consistency in Hearthstone, this is not what I had in mind.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's weird about this. Would they tackle this issue and not some of the other cards?
Not Deathstalker Rexar?
Yeah, like, although Deathstalker Rexar is going to get fixed in the next expansion, apparently.
Yeah, but this makes it worse. This adds more words, so there's going to be more things that don't get added to Deathstalker. No, it's fine.
Sure.
I'm kidding. I'm
oh my
reaching.
God, that's hilarious.
I'm reaching.
The whole problem with Deathstalker Rexar was all the freaking words, and now they're like, those beasts in Enrage?
Listen,
we're getting rid of their keywords.
Listen, if Peter Whalen is here saying we're not making more enraged minions, then it's not going to affect Deathstalker Rexar.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of things that make me scratch my head and wonder why, there's an official deck tracking app, guys. An official deck tracker for Hearthstone. Only in China.
China gets all the cool stuff, man.
Damn, China gets all the things we ask for.
Yeah, and then it seems like at some point it's going to come to the rest of the world, but then it just doesn't. Like we've heard about other things years ago. They've had that made their way here.
They've had that out-of-game tournament tool for over a year now,
sure.
And we were just over a year ago. We were like, "Hey, this is awesome. When are we gonna get it?" And here we are, over a year later, being like, "Oh, right, I forgot that existed because they never did anything with it in any other region."
Nope. So this thing sounds pretty cool. There is a replay function if you use Hearthstone Deck Tracker, but it's kind of annoying to watch because you you get like no animations, and it just, I don't know, it just looks. I mean, it definitely is helpful to go back and look at certain game states and things like that. It works in that fashion. But if you just try to send it to, like, I've had people send to me a replay on that, and I'm like, I'm not going to watch this. Like, this is, if I could watch the actual Hearthstone game play out and then put it to like double speed or something, that would be amazing. And it sounds like this is kind of what you're getting here, where, you know, like it's saying that it even captures the cards you mouse over and things like that. So you can see kind of what people were thinking about and stuff like that. You can look at cards in their hand and be like, okay, cool, let's check it out. What do we got here? And the one now, it's kind of, I don't know, it's not great. So this sounds cool. I would like an official one for sure.
Yeah, the thing we have through Hearthstone Deck Tracker, it's good considering there are no alternatives, but there's a certain level of jank there that's hard to ignore.
Yeah, and that's fine because they're working with what they got, right?
Right.
So.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's not built that you can't do like an add-on for Hearthstone the way you can do an add-on for WoW, right? So they're a little bit kind of restricted in the things that they can build that look on the same level as what Blizzard can build. I think it's perfectly reasonable. But it says like this even like will help you eliminate what secrets your opponent has in play. Like this is like a full-on deck tracker. I thought maybe it was just like stats in the background, but it's full-on everything.
Yep. And it sounds like this, you know, the other cool thing about this, if this were ever like really offered, you could use this to like cast tournaments after the fact and things like that, or cast, like, have someone send in a replay. And, you know, it's like, this is Day 9 built his friggin' career on like people send him replays of StarCraft games, and then he cast those games. People could send you the craziest Hearthstone game. Yeah. Like, that would be great for like us. Like, I would love to do that on my stream. Just be like, okay, once a week, like, I will just go through a mailbag of people sending me their craziest games, and I will cast their game.
Yep.
Sounds so awesome. So I really hope that this is the thing that translates to coming to America, rather than just staying in China forever and ever.
Do you want to hear something really ridiculous and kind of salty that I just thought of?
Oh boy, Salty Jocelyn, yeah.
I'm looking at this and looking at all the functions that are built into the Hearthstone client in China going, this has like 800 more functions than what we're getting in beta for tournament mode. Like, what the hell, Blizzard? Catch up to China.
Catch up to your own game in a different region.
Exactly.
Please.
Because that's what they're saying. Oh, it's going into beta. And then I'm like, it's going into beta with like telling you how much dust you need, suggesting decks, having guides, tracking stats, doing replays. Like, come on.
Hey, but Joss, we're getting a Swedish format. Yeah. Swiss.
Did you say Swedish?
Swiss.
Yeah, Swedish.
We got that Swedish format. Oh, yeah.
Swedish is
Swiss,
when it's...
That is so yesterday.
Yeah.
It's all about Swedish.
Swedish is when it doesn't work as good. When it's it's a half-assed version of what you want.
Oh, Luckless in the chat just said live crazy game stories. Yeah, just be like, don't even describe it unless you're gonna be eloquent. Just send us the thing.
Right. Yeah.
Watch it.
Yeah, no. Like replay-driven content was something like when Hearthstone got announced. I'm like, I'm gonna be all over that. Oh wait, there's no replays, and here we are. How many years later? Oh,
5?
5? 5 years later, still no replays. Still not a thing. Don't send me your videos. I don't want to deal with that many megabytes.
You know, and it's funny because it's very clear that the community wants them. When Trollden's actually working for Blizzard now, and his channel's been hugely successful just by showing replays of crazy things happening in Hearthstone.
Yeah, he doesn't even commentate over top of them. It's just
he literally just puts
fun music.
Well, he throws some meme edits in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. That's pretty much all I watch on YouTube right now is that, but for PUBG. Because
there's some good stuff.
Yeah.
Where they have replays in a game that's still not even really out. I guess it's kind of out.
It's technically
released back in December,
but
it's
still broken.
It's broken. Yeah, it shouldn't be out.
Yeah, really.
Oh, be nice. Has more functions than the tournament
mode. You're just driving along and you blow up. It may not be nice.
A problem.
Listen, don't you start me talking about rocks that I cannot see stopping my car dead in its tracks going 60 miles an hour. All right.
Yeah.
Don't you start me on that, Dills.
That's just realism. If you are driving a motorcycle with a sidecar at 100 miles an hour and you hit a pebble, Yeah, you see what happens. Go out there and try it in real life.
You know what's even more realistic is when you ramp with the engine in the front of the car is the portion of the vehicle that goes up the highest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how weight works. So, hey, anyways, moving on. We're getting a StarCraft brawl to celebrate the StarCraft anniversary. And this is the only time you're going to hear me get kind of excited about brawl, because I love me some StarCraft. So, yay. It sounds like we're going to be basically choosing a portal, which will send us down a StarCraft-themed route, either of Terran, Tech, or Zerg, Swarm, or Protoss, Mind.
So, yeah, why did they change the name of these things?
I don't know.
Why didn't they just put Terran? I don't care, whatever.
Because they said they'd never put other franchises into Hearthstone.
Oh. So. That totally makes sense now. Oh, essentially, yeah. So essentially, you'll have 10 cards from your class and 20 cards from whatever race you choose, right? Mm-hmm. And that sounds cool.
Do you begin with 10 cards, like they're randomly assigned to you, or do you get to choose your first 10 cards?
It sounds like you get them assigned, but I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
The way this has worked in the past, because we had the one where you would pick 2 classes, you would get just 15 random cards from one and 15 from the other. So the first one you pick was just what your hero power was, right?
Yes.
Also what you have in your starting hand. But yeah. So I don't know. It sounds cool. I'm excited for it. I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah. The big thing is that we're going to get 3 Kobolds and Catacombs card packs, not just 1.
Ooh. Yeah.
As your reward. So.
Maybe. Okay. So we did have a Diablo thing already, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The cow boss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
again, it wasn't really Diablo branded at all. It was still Hearthstone.
It was a special Diablo level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, there is no cow level, but there is.
Yeah, everyone knows that.
Yeah, I like the Diablo
no cow level. Come on.
I enjoy the Diablo brawl, so I'll actually play this one. I can't tell you the last brawl I played.
I still play them all on my free-to-play account.
Mm.
Just because
I would expect you to.
Still matters.
I usually look to see what it is and go, and then
if it's something that's going to take me a long time to win, I'll skip it for sure.
Yeah.
Like the Ragnaros Nefarious when it was here.
That's an old one.
That one sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just back, last week or the week before? Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, before we move into card talk, we have a sponsor to thank for today, Harrys.com/TAC. Harrys is back. They are back to sponsor this episode. No matter how many times we talk about our gross hairy shoulders, they're going to continue to support this podcast. All 3 of us, I can speak for other members of my household. I can speak for my dad. I can speak for my wife. We have, again, I'm a walking infomercial for Harrys at this point. If any somehow needing to remove hair comes up, I'm not going to talk about why it comes up that often, but it does. And when it does,
come on, Garrett.
Yeah,
I want to know what kind of conversations you're having.
Usually, how do you promote this on your show? Well, Dills and I talk about how hairy our shoulders are. Really? You talk about that publicly? Yeah, our jobs are basically to embarrass ourselves publicly.
Look, when you work at an office, you talk about your TPS reports or whatever. Our job is to, talk about Hearthstone. So when I'm out and about and I'm talking to random people, talk about Hearthstone a little more than an average person. And then I also talk about Harrys more than an average person, because it's just what happens at work. Yeah, we talk about Harrys.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I meet a random person. I go, hey, have you heard of Harrys? You can use code TAC,
Yep.
Do you have hairy shoulders? This kind of stuff comes up all the time, Jocelyn. I don't know what you're doing or you're not.
I guess I'm just doing it all wrong. I'm not talking about my hairy shoulders.
Yep. Yeah.
That's weird that you're not just talking about it everywhere you go.
Yeah. No. Over a year ago now, when Harry started supporting the show, they converted me to a proper shave gel and razor shave with the first sample that they sent me out, and I then went on to spend my own money to keep getting Harry's razors. So I can attest that I dig it. I dig the Harrys, and you can try them out. They still have that special offer for the trial set up for grabs. Just go to harrys.com/TAC and you can sign up to get the trial set. It's a $13 value, completely free when you sign up. That includes a weighted ergonomic razor handle, their 5 precision engineered blade with lubricating strip and trimmer blade cartridge, the rich lathering shave gel, and a travel blade cover so you can take it with you. Again, go to harrys.com/TAC right now to redeem that offer. We thank them for their support. And we thank you for shaving your shoulders. Now, let's move on and talk about Witchwood cards. Oh, go. Where are you, tablet? Damn it.
It says warning on it. I think we should watch it.
No, we cannot miss that card.
It's too OP.
Guys. Nerf it now.
All right, so the card reveal stream is next week, but 4 cards have been revealed since we last spoke. And going in alphabetical order of class, and since we've only got one per class, that's how we're going to do this. We're going to start with Druid and the Gloomstag, which is an epic 5-mana 2/6 beast that has Taunt and a battle cry that reads, if your deck has only odd cost cards, gain +2/+2. And make peace with the if your deck has blah, because those are all the cards we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because it was part of the whole, like, what do even and odd cost decks look like conversation video with Ixar.
Yes.
Right? So
The fireside
This seems
chat.
like a really good card. If odd Druid is a thing.
Oh, I love that name already. I hadn't even thought about that. Just calling it odd Druid.
Yep.
Even isn't as fun.
yeah.
Yeah, if odd Druid is a thing, then this will be a good card because 5 mana 4/8 with Taunt. That's solid.
Is that going to be our like basically our default response to all the cards today? If odd or even class is a thing, then this card is good.
Basically,
Kind of.
yes.
I think you also have to consider the odd and even legendaries when you think about these, right? Because what is it? It's Baku, so that would mean you'd have in an odd Druid you'd have an upgraded hero power. Druid's hero power when upgraded is pretty sweet. Deal 2 damage, gain 2 armor.
Yeah, 2 and 2.
Yeah,
This card, though, man, and I think it's because I've now seen the full piece of art, but you can't actually see the stag's legs on the card, and it looks to me like its head is turned around backwards. Like somebody broke its neck and turned its head on backwards.
It totally does.
All right. Do you want to go down this rabbit hole? Do you want to have the art talk and also an anatomy of stag talk? Because they can turn their heads like that.
Actually, what we're looking at here is the front of the stag.
Yeah.
And he is like leaning back and he's kind of shredded, right? Like that's like you think that's a stag back? No, that's a stag front right there.
Oh, I know it's supposed to be, but it's just I don't know because you can't see the legs. It just the angles on the card just look really funny to me.
I'm just bringing in the full art. Screw this. Okay,
yeah.
so
See, when you can see the full art, it's very obvious. It's standing very proud with his head
No, but I mean
to the side.
No, I mean though, like no, he's like okay. Imagine he's like a stag, half stag, half human. Okay, take away the full art, Garrett. Take away the full art.
All right.
He's like laying on the beach, propped up on his back arms. You see what I'm saying?
He's doing.
Yeah, okay.
He's doing
I get it.
one of these.
Yeah, and he's kind of like he's like kind of sunken in on his stomach a little bit. But
So if this was a calendar, you're telling me that like Mr. February has a secret, like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Baggins, you're so right. It's a superheroine pose. Somehow their head is twisted around and also their ass is in the picture.
So it's the old Tracer victory pose.
Just taking it out of the circle makes so much more sense.
It does. It really does. And that was the first thing I saw when I saw this card. I was just like, that can't be a real card.
Oh, it didn't bother me as much. I think it's the chest poof. I mean, stags actually do get that chest poof, but this one's just a little exaggerated.
Yeah.
All right, makes sense.
Same artist that did Voidlord, by the way. Jerry Masho, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's an artist at Blizzard, not just a freelancer. He also did the Thrall Death Knight. He did the Vilefin Inquisitor. He did the Moat Lurker. If we're going down that art road. He's also done a lot of work on the game boards themselves. Mean Streets and League of Explorers are chilling on his portfolio right now if you want to go look at it.
Nice.
But, yeah.
The thing that's weird about these cards, like, one thing that they've done with these odd and even type of things in the past, like, not this particular one, but, like, in the past, like say, I think of, like, Freeze Shaman, right? Where they try to, like, throw weird synergies together. When I look at this card, I think, okay, this card in itself and having an upgraded hero power are not going to be good enough to make this deck a thing. Right? Like, one power spike on 5, like, they're going to need more stuff. We're going to need, like, more neutral cards that do really powerful things that are worth taking out Wild Growth, right? Swipe. What? Like, I gotta take out some really freaking good cards if I want to play this deck. So no more Spreading Plague. I don't know. No more Ultimate Infestation. Is not having Ultimate Infestation worth on turn 5? I get a 4/8 taunt. I don't know.
And they're losing like the Jade stuff. They're losing Enchanted Raven, Mark of the Lotus. Like, there's a lot of odd cards that are going to be rotating out, and obviously we don't know everything that they're going to get, but they're losing a lot of things.
I'm significantly less interested in the odd even decks in Standard than I am for Wild, just because there's so much more to pull from in that format.
Oh yeah, Wild is going to be the jam for these decks for sure.
Yeah, but I have hope. I mean, I get what I see where you're getting at, Dills. Like, you're right. Like, history has shown, like, unless power levels off the chain, things don't tend to stick. Yeah. But I feel like getting guaranteed a more powerful hero power out the gate, at least in the case of the odds, it makes me go a little easier on it, because it's like, well, if I miss an early drop, it's all right because my hero power is doing more.
Sure.
And you can still use the Death Knight too, because Malfurion is odd.
7, sure.
Yeah.
But then that would be weird, because now you're upgrading your hero power, and then your Death Knight is upgrading it
again.
A little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, but it happens later in the game. It's still kind of about getting there.
But the Death Knight's less good in an odd deck for sure. It's less impactful than in. But I mean, sure, it still is upgrading a little bit, but I don't know.
I'm about to say
not as much.
I was like, oh darn, my hero power is even better. What a shame. But I
don't know. It just seems like like that card. I don't know. It's like that's not going to swing it either. Like there needs to be a really big power spike. That's what Prince Keleseth did for everybody. Was this big power spike to not have 2 drops, right?
Yeah.
And this a 5-mana 4/6 is not that big power spike.
Right. But again, I don't know. There's also the whole bit where since it's based on what your deck is built off of, and you've got something like Baku, you're getting some guaranteed synergy right out the gate. I mean, granted, you still have to draw Gloomstag, but I don't know. There's a balancing act there versus something like Keleseth, where it was just like, well, if Keleseth might be card number 30, and I'll never get anything for including him in my deck. But yeah. Time will tell. And speaking of more cards I'm unsure about, let's just move right along and talk about the Mages card that they showed, Black Cat. This is a 3-mana 3/3 common beast. Actually, all the cards today are beasts. That didn't even really occur to me until now. But it has spell damage +1 and a battle cry that reads, if your deck has only odd cost cards, draw a card.
This card is actually really freaking good if it's. But again, it's like, is that power spike worth not playing Frostbolt and Fireball? But if it turns out that there's a deck that does run really well without those cards, this is like mini Azure Drake, right? Spell damage, draw a card. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the card is good, but you got to take out some really good cards to put your Black Cat in there. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not convinced. You. By the way, these it was just brought up in chat, but we should talk about this. These cards are not going to be in Arena.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, I mean they shouldn't be.
Oh, okay. I was like, did I miss an announcement? Did they say that? But yeah, no, you're right. It makes sense that they wouldn't be included.
I think it was just a tweet that confirmed it. But
they didn't put Cthulhu cards in. They're not going to put these cards in.
What's funny though is the Black Cat might not be terrible in Arena. Just a 3-mana 3/3 with spell damage, and then if
even without drawing the card.
Yeah, and then if it happens that you've drawn all your even cards somehow, then you could get the battle cry, draw a card. But I don't know.
I feel like this one is the one that feels the most useful if you don't hit the condition. Like, of the 4 that we were shown, it seems just powerful and good enough on its own, right?
I don't think for constructed.
Mages don't play spell damage right now.
Right.
Like, I don't think you would just put this in a deck with even cards in it, for the spell damage and a 3-mana 3/3. Although a 3-mana 3/3 body is spell damage that's not.
Well, yeah, that's
trivial,
it's still okay, right? As opposed to like some like the Gloomstag at a 2/6 for 5 is just bad if you don't get the thing right. But this one is like 3/3 for 3 with spell damage is fine. if you don't draw the card, okay. Like, it's not like it becomes a 3/1 or something.
Sure, but it's Soot Spewer, which never saw play when we had mechs. So, yeah, it's only going to be if the the draw card thing is going to be important for this, I think. But it's, again, it's like this power spike isn't enough to not play Frostbolt and Fireball, as far as I'm concerned.
And a Luneth, too.
And we'll just everything. Yeah, no Pyroblast, no Blizzard.
Interesting. Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah. Glitter Moth is next. This is a priest card. It's an epic 5-mana 4/4 beast with a battle cry that reads, if your deck has only odd cost cards, double the health of your minions.
Of your other minions.
Not this won't get doubled. But and again, weird, because if I'm playing a deck with only odd cost cards, I don't get Divine Spirit. So if I'm playing like an Inner Fire deck,
but
which to me is the reason to want to double the health of my minions. So
but then if you don't play Divine Spirit, maybe can you just play like Glitter Moth and I guess the Crazed Alchemist is for when you lose Inner Fire. Yeah.
You also I don't think you would at all, because you also wouldn't be able to put in Shadow Visions to find combo pieces. Like this whole deck doesn't work this way. No, I don't like it.
Yeah, and this one just seems underpowered, period, to me. Like, you're paying 5 mana for 4/4. All I'm getting out of it is doubling the health of my minions in a deck that's forcing me not to synergize, at least in the way I'm already thinking about the way we've done this in the past with Priest.
I think it's just bad. It's poorly designed for what it's trying to do, right? So
yeah.
It's
Plus, if you just wait one more turn, you can get a 6-mana 4/4 that also gets you a 10-drop. Can't do that if you only have odd cards.
That's a good point.
You're certainly not playing it in
a Summoner over Glitter Moth.
Yeah,
and again, in exchange, you're getting an upgraded hero power. So healing for 4 is pretty sweet. But then you need more power spikes along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like, it might make it so your minions can never die, right? Because you're doubling their health and also being able to heal them for 4 every time. So
yeah, I mean, that would be the idea, I think, is you probably play sticky minions and then you try to get them to be even stickier with this card. The problem is that then it's like...
Do priests use your board to constantly control the board?
Now, you'd rather just Divine Spirit, Inner Fire, right? I mean... I just seem like a better game plan to actually win the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a chance, right? There's a chance that there's some weird synergy in other cards we haven't seen yet that somehow makes this card playable. But, with the drip feed, haven't said that word yet after the announcement of the expansion. With the drip feed, this is the reaction sometimes you have with cards. It's like, well, with nothing else to go on, this card seems bad.
Yep. Pretty much.
Yeah. And then finally, Merkspark Eel. This is a shaman card. It's a rare 2-mana 2/3 beast with a battle cry that reads, if your deck has only even cost cards, deal 2 damage. That's good. So
this is the discount your hero power one, right? So
yes, you would have a 1-mana totem.
You have a 1-mana totem.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems good. I mean, when I think of the decks that would potentially use this whole upgrade or 1-mana type thing, I do think of things like Paladin and Shaman, where it's like you're putting stuff on the board, right? So I mean, that seems pretty cool. So you can control the board early on, right? I think this is maybe a decent power spike for what you're getting, but again, it's like, what am I going to not have when I play this deck? And that's really what you got to think about. Like, you're giving up a lot to gain 1-mana totems.
Yeah, because so I mean, that would be like Mana Tide Totem, I feel like, is the big one that pops into my head right away that they'd get rid of, and also no Bloodlust. So if you're putting things on the board, usually that's
you can't put Bloodlust in a deck where you get 1-mana totems.
You can't evolve.
No.
You can't. It's interesting.
No Volcano.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. They're losing some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird, and it just doesn't seem like it works in my head, and that's why I think we're just going to be proven wrong, and it's going to work, because that's what I thought about Reno.
Yeah, these are going to be the best
like when they showed us Reno, I was like, that's insane, and it'll never work.
But Reno's heal you to full. This is deal 2 damage.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's weird, like, because The other big part of my hesitation that I don't think we've talked about is that I don't think they're going to add enough of these cards. Because that's a risk, right? I think doubling down on the odd even deck concept is a big risk, because if they dedicate too much of the set space to those cards and it's a flop, well, then the whole set feels like a flop. But if you don't dedicate enough, then this archetype is just bogus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I do think though that if you do see these cards, it is going to be in Wild, where you just have more options for things to replace the things that you're missing, right?
Right. And I think that
you
personally,
can still use your 4-mana 7/7 in Wild.
Yeah, there you go. See?
Yeah.
You can still play Totem Golems.
Yep. And
Hell
Jade things. Jade Lightning, Jade Spirit.
You don't get Tunnel Trogs, though, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yep. So, just strange. That's I don't think I've ever been this kind of unsure.
Yeah.
Going into an expansion.
It kind of feels like we're going to get one of these for each class, and then maybe a few neutrals. And so that's what also makes me a little unsure about this, is like, unless like Priest has 3 of these or something, then I
mean, there's an argument to be made where like, so Glitter Moth is based on odds. So even if maybe they
throw an even one at each, like an odd and an even one at each class. But then again, it's like, now I don't know. I don't like that either.
Yeah, you're splitting again, it's at risk, right? That I'm kind
of making both of them less powerful.
And that's feeding into my uncertainty about it. But I mean, there's also an argument to not necessarily giving one of each, but I'm using Glitter Moth as the example. What if they give Priest multiple powerful odd cost cards, even if they don't have an effect based on only having odd cost cards? Here's an odd cost card that's just really premium removal. Enjoy.
Obviously, we haven't seen the rest of the set, so we don't fully know. But you'd still have Psychic Scream and stuff like that. So you'd still have some stuff.
Yeah. Although then I'm gonna fight with myself. If they just give us really powerful odds, I'm just gonna skip this and just put 2 of those in with some evens and make a normal deck. Oh, I don't know. It's strange. I just need to see more of the set. So Monday, get here. Prove to me this will work. So, anyways, before we move on into Crazy Game Stores, we have another sponsor to thank for today's episode, and that is HelloFresh.com. They are also back. I would say despite nothing. I think all I've ever really said about HelloFresh is that they basically keep me alive. Has nothing to do with shaving my shoulders. So you can check them out by going to HelloFresh.com. They still have they're still offering the TAC30 code. So if you use TAC30 when you subscribe, you get $30 off of your first week of deliveries. And if you haven't tried HelloFresh, if you're not familiar with what they are the meal kit delivery service. They make it really simple to cook fresh, like healthy meals. And you don't need to figure it out. You don't need to know what you're doing. They've got a really great selection. There's 3 plans to choose from. They've got the classic for us carnivores out there. They got the veggie for everyone I graduated art school with. They've got the family plan if you've multiplied. So check them out. They make cooking fun again. I have no training in cooking. You would probably laugh at me watching me like dice up an onion. It's very slow. But because of their step-by-step recipes, which include pictures, which I love, I actually can cook like good meals that aren't terrible and aren't terrible for me, for my wife and I. Big fan of it. And
what's funny about HelloFresh? I was thinking about the other day, as I was throwing out a whole bunch of produce and things that I bought from the store and not used in a meal. You might think it's kind of expensive at first, but it's really expensive to buy a bunch of food that you never end up using. And when you get like this, they just give you the exact thing you need for each meal, and then when you're done with the box, it's all gone. Like, there's not just like a bunch of lettuce like sitting in the crisper for 3 weeks, and then and then you're like, oh damn, I forgot to use this lettuce. So yeah, I mean it's like, I was kind of thinking about the cost of it, and then I realized I cost a lot just by throwing out food when I buy too much of one thing or something.
Yeah.
Or I plan to make all this stuff and I never do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it actually doesn't cost that much up front because you could get $30 off by using TAC 30 when you start trying it. Yeah, I mean it's super convenient, man. I mean it shows up right to your door. It's in recyclable insulated packaging. I've mentioned before I live in a literal swamp, and HelloFresh just stays fresh on my doorstep when I'm out and can't get to it right away. And the whole subscription method of it has replaced the weekly grocery trip for Katie and I. We don't have to plan our meals. We don't have to load up at the grocery store. We don't have to clean out the crisper like Dills was talking about. Our refrigerator smells amazing. It's wonderful. I love it. So the two of us, we've been a subscriber for quite a while now. Last week we had this spiced shrimp and orzo dish. It single-handedly sold me on not only orzo, which I didn't even know what it was. It's like a rice pasta. It's amazing.
I was gonna say, I don't know what orzo is.
Yeah,
so.
It's like a rice pasta. It's really cool. It has a super cool texture. But also, guys, roasted tomatoes are good. I don't know why I've been avoiding them my entire life, but I was like, I'm gonna skip this. Kate's like, just try it. We made it. Just put it on. Try it. And I'm like, I don't wanna. And it was actually delicious. So it's also getting me out of my comfort zone. So check them out. HelloFresh.com. Use the code TAC30 when you sign up, and you will get $30 off of your first week of deliveries. Again, by just visiting HelloFresh.com. We thank them for their support, and we thank you for sending your crazy game stories into tacpodcast@gmail.com, because that's what we're doing right now.
Is the whole world gone crazy?
You're in trouble now.
You got it!
Mike is dishing out a crazy game story this week, and he says, "Greetings, my angry, feathered friends," but not enraged. Longtime listener, first-time clucker. Hey, Mike, if you listen, you're a clucker. Everyone who listens to this show is a clucker. I love my cluckers. My crazy game story comes to us from the Wild Arena event. I'm drafting Warlock, building a pretty decent mid-range controlled deck with solid minions and really good removal, including 2 copies of Defile. I get towards the end of the draft when I see a pick that makes me raise an eyebrow. Mediocre rare that doesn't matter, mediocre rare that doesn't matter, and that card everyone used to love to hate. Yes, I'm talking about Grim Patron. Having not played back in the days of Patron Warrior, I decided to pick it because what do I have to lose, right? Fast forward to my second match of the run. I can already see where this is going, by the way. I'm playing against a Druid player, doing the usual Druid thing, get a bunch of mana, fill the board with creatures. I'm managing to stall the board decently well, but I'm no match for the constant pressure being put on me. I need an out. Draw, Grim Patron. Useless against his big minions. Survive another turn, draw, Defile. I laugh with glee as I set up the board to have a 1 and 2 health minion, then cast Grim Patron followed by Defile, and watch and listen as my speakers explode with the sound of "Everyone, get in here!" over and over as I destroy my opponent's board and leave behind an army of 3/3s that go on to win me the game. It's good.
That interaction is kind of funny, by the way. I don't know if you've seen video of it. Basically, it can go forever if in the or almost forever in like the right situation.
Yeah, I was about to say it should just kind of be like an endless loop.
Yeah, if it's killing one off as it's creating a fresh one, and then it's made a 2 health one. But I think eventually it ends up not. I don't know. I don't know.
I think eventually it stops. I think
eventually it stops.
Yeah, they put something, which is funny. They changed Dreadsteed, but they didn't change Patron. But yeah, eventually it's built in to just stop.
Yeah.
Well, Dreadsteed would literally never stop. That's
yes.
the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very, very nice, dude. I missed the part where you said Wild Arena, and I was like, "Oh, Detective Dill's on the case." I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, Wild Arena."
No.
Chat room is saying it's capped at one person says 16, one says 15.
Right.
Hard
something
cap.
like that.
All right, just hard cap Dreadsteed. Let's just do that and put it back to its original form, please and thank you.
Well, you don't hard cap the Dreadsteed or the Patron. You hard cap Defile.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. You just make it never able to cast one 15 times. Yeah, and then bring back old Dreadsteed. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Please. I miss old Dreadsteed. So before we take some emails, let's also thank our patrons over at patreon.com/TAC. That is the best way to support the show, to support the 3 of us. $1 an episode, $2 an episode, whatever works for you. It all helps.
It's also the best way to get into the Take Taco.
Exactly. Just a dollar patronage is all it takes. On this episode, we wanted to thank John W., Simon FF, and Michael S. Thank you very much for supporting the show. Again, patreon.com/TAC if you want to support the Angry Chicken. Now let's wrap up with some emails.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Hello?
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Hello, brother.
Keep those emails coming to the same place, tacpodcast@gmail.com. Another Mike, but Mike Y, writes in and says, hello, Furious Fowls. My favorite type of deck to play is one with an alternate win condition, cards that say you win games. Currently, the only one in the game is the Paladin DK, which makes me go, then how is that your favorite type of deck to play? Oh, he answers it. In the WoW TCG, they had an adventure-sized expansion about the Darkmoon Faire. It had a card that read, at the start of your turn, if you control cards with costs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, you win the game. It matches the deck you can turn in at the Darkmoon Faire, and wow. Oh, that's awesome. Do you think that Blizzard will ever experiment more with alternate win conditions? Also, what do you think about the flavor of a Darkmoon Faire expansion? Yes, and bring it.
Yeah, I think now that we've seen it once, I don't see why I wouldn't see it again. I like the fact that the condition is hard to meet, and then if you do meet it, you just win. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's not a keyword, so they're not going to take it away.
Sure. Yeah, like Eternal has a few things like this. Lots of card games have messed around with this. I know Magic has some weird ones. Like there's one that literally reads like the game is a draw, which is bizarre. And I have a friend, Azixa, who loves playing his commander deck that forces a 2-hour game to end in a draw, and everyone hates him.
That sounds like
I don't think he's making a lot of friends playing like that.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, I think it's always been a really fun thing, and I like stuff like that where it sets up a really difficult to meet condition better than, say, I don't know, just milling and things like that. Like you can think of those as alternate win or like Exodia type things as alternate win conditions, but yeah, stuff like where it's hard to set up, and then when it happens, it's like boom, game's over. Like that's pretty cool. I like.
Yeah, I think Quest Mage is another one that's kind of like riding this line. There's no necessarily like text on any of the cards that say you just win the game, but they get to a point where they get all of their combo pieces together, and then they just have their turn where they have infinite damage, and it's pretty much the same thing. But like you say, it's hard to get there. Like they have to draw through almost their whole deck to get all the pieces they need. And I think that's key to anything like this is it has to be difficult. It can't just be a thing. And I think, I mean, the one difference between like the Paladin DK and the Quest Mage is like Paladin DK, at least you feel like you can still kind of play around that if you're the opponent. Like you can keep removing their 2/2s as much as you possibly can. With the Quest Mage, you're just kind of like, well, when they get it, I'm just dead, and you can't do too much to kind of interact with that. But at least the Paladin one you can. So I think that might be another key part of it.
Well, the current combo doesn't, because the current combo they just do the Auction Master Beardo and they do it all in one turn.
Yeah, that's true. They do all. Yeah, they do it all in one turn as well. That's true.
But I do. If there is a huge difference, it's that the Paladin one gets through Ice Block. The Mage one does not.
It's true.
If you could somehow find your way to getting a Mage's Ice Block, you can stop that Exodia thing. Although now I think with Ice Block going to Hall of Fame, you will never ever see another Quest Mage in Standard ever again. Just don't work.
Very okay with that. Never want to see another. Never want to see a third, fourth, etc. Sorcerer's Apprentice, please.
But yeah, I do like the idea though of like making it something that you have to do on the board. You know, that minion space matters and that your opponent can interact with, and, you know, like have all these kind of conditions that don't just necessarily make it, I played this card and I win. Boom. But yeah, I like the idea. And Darkmoon Faire, there could be so many super cool, fun things you could do with Darkmoon Faire expansions. Like, oh man, that could be so fun.
Yeah, and it's not 1-to-1 direct, but I would put Rin in this category as well. It's a game-defining effect if you can get there. And
blowing
if you can
up their deck is pretty big.
Yeah.
If you can get there and you can get there specifically quick enough. I feel like every time I finally get Rin to work, the decks are already out anyway.
It's always the trade-off, right?
Right. Yeah, you gotta get Rin online pretty early and hope they don't have silence or a shapeshift of some sort. But yeah, no, I would love a Darkmoon Faire expansion. I'm a big fan of the Darkmoon Faire kind of aesthetic. Especially when they redesigned it multiple years ago now. I remember first time going out there and WoW being like, dude, this is the coolest thing ever. So.
Yeah, so if you guys aren't familiar with Darkmoon Faire, we should probably explain it a little bit. Darkmoon Faire in World of Warcraft happens at the start of every month, and it's basically like a creepy kind of carnival. So there's like all kinds of carnival rides. You get bonus experience. You get like there's a whole bunch of like profession stuff. So we've talked a lot on the show about what it might look like to implement professions in World of Warcraft into Hearthstone. And so there could be some really cool themes when it comes to Darkmoon Faire expansion.
Yeah. Although you didn't have to say creepy carnival. You could have just said carnival. All carnivals are creepy.
Fair enough. I'm just thinking like the big moving eyeball creeps me out.
It's the fog and all the purple for me.
Yeah.
Next email, Dills.
One comes from Alan, who says, "Hail and well met, furious foul. With the latest changes to Arena shifting the emphasis onto the power of the card rather than the rarity gemstone, does this mean that constructed players are likely to see a shift in the sets where there are fewer meme or fun epics and legendaries and more must-have cards like UI, as Team 5 will not have to balance out the quality of each rarity pool?" I wish that I could say that they were balancing the quality of the rarities around Arena, but I don't think they ever were.
No.
Well, that's kind of the question, right? How much of an impact did Arena pools actually have on the card design in each set?
Minimal at best.
I mean, very early on in the show's lifetime, I know all of us at one point or another were like, we should really start just balancing around rarity because that's how it affects Arena. And now that just the whole argument's just out the window.
Sure. Now it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, it's just irrelevant.
They're just going to keep doing the rarity thing based upon the complexity of the card, I guess. But I don't even know if I buy into that one too. Like that, sometimes I look at some of these cards, I'm like, this is not complex. It doesn't need to be epic. But yeah, it's it would be an argument if I thought that they ever did this, but I don't think that they ever did. Unfortunately, they should have been, but they never.
Yeah. Final email, Joss.
This one comes from Kyle G, who says, "Hello, Furious Featherballs." I think that's a new one. You talk about rotating the class legendaries and getting a new set. I'm curious what you think the compensation should be for this rotation. The precedent for the Hall of Fame would mean a full dust refund for all 9 or a whopping 12,600 dust. I have thought a good compromise would be to transform that set into a different set. Say they decide they want to make the Ungoro set the new standard class for class legends. If I have Tyrion, I get a free Tarim. This prevents Blizzard from losing a large amount of profit and still finds a happy medium. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for all your hard work and putting on a great podcast. So I feel like if they were to rotate out 9 legendaries, I think the dust is just the best way to go, right? Because even if you trade one legendary for another legendary, like that's still like giving you 1,600 dust and then taking away 1,600 dust, but without giving you the choice of where that dust should go. I feel like that, like it, economy-wise, it's exactly the same thing.
Like if I just want to keep my Tyrion though too, because I want to play it in Wild, like that would suck if I had to decide to give up Tyrion just to get the new one.
Well, before that, you didn't have to disenchant them, right? When things moved to Hall of Fame, you just automatically get.
That's
the
why
dust,
the Hall of Fame way is better. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just keep your Tyrion, and then you also get enough dust to craft the new standard class legendary, right?
Yeah.
And I think the reason why I talk about this is because I do think that at a certain point in time, there's going to be cards we're going to be a little bit tired of just playing that card, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be tired of like, oh, if I'm making a Paladin deck, I put Tyrion in, right? If I'm making a Mage deck that has some sort of Exodia type thing or late game stuff, I put an Archmage. Like those cards we're talking like 5 years now. What about when it's 20 years, right, of Tyrion? So I think at a certain point, I would like to see them just say the classic set still serves its purpose as being like something that a new player can aspire to get and know they'll always have, or a returning player can know that, hey, I got a decent legendary at least. So, I think you probably just at a certain point rotate them all to the Hall of Fame, introduce 9 new ones, and just give them to everybody who had the old ones, right?
Yeah.
Just be like, here you go. You just get them for free because you had the other ones, right? So.
Yeah.
Well, you get to craft them. I mean, because you had the old ones, because you got the best.
Yeah, I'm just all for dust. I would not. I would be very unhappy and have some choice words if they went the other route. I was like, no, give me my dust and let me choose what to do with it. And that's more like pro player, right? Not like a professional player. Like it's in the favor of the player base.
And I think these things too should also not be tied to an expansion. I think they should just be like at a certain point where it's like, okay, we just recognize that some cards need to get rotated like out and in, right? So yeah, they could choose existing legendaries that they think would replace those well, And maybe you have those ones already and you don't have to craft a new one. And but at that moment, I think they should just give the players a little bit of a bonus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're still going to be making money off all the expansions around it. So.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And also tune in 40 years for the episode where we talk about how Tyrion hasn't been rotated yet, live from the retirement community.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Looking forward to that one.
That'd be good. Actually, that's hilarious. No one here is going to retire.
Yeah, really.
Seriously.
Work till I die.
Yep.
Well, keep your emails coming, tacpodcast@gmail.com. And I don't know. Hold on. I don't think Tyrion's going anywhere soon because no one's playing him right now. But
that's just because of the Paladin decks.
They are. Yeah, they're fast. They're not,
they're like turn 8. We don't see turn 8.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
And if I do
turn 8, we've lost and we've already conceded.
Sure.
Or you already have 7 minions on board and you're about to win.
Yeah.
One or the other.
Yep, exactly. So that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks again to our patrons, patreon.com/TAC. If you want to support the show, huge thanks to everyone over there supporting us right now. We really appreciate everyone. Also, thank you to our producers, Declan H., Michael N., Sean C., Johnny S., and LVE. You guys are nuts. Continue being nuts. Thank you. Follow us on Twitter @TAC Podcast. Also, again, if you are a patron, keep your eye on patreon.com/TAC for information about Take Taco, the Kobolds and Catacombs Angriest Chicken Open tournament that will be firing up not this Saturday, but next. But around the table before we leave, Dills, where can folks find the other stuff that you do?
You can check me out on Twitter. I'm at Willie Dills, twitch.tv/Willie Dills. And if you are a fan of wrestling, I encourage you to check out the 1-900 Wrestling podcast I do with Justin Robert Young. Lots and lots of fun.
Sweet. Jocelyn, how about
We're
yourself?
on the road to WrestleMania, so cool
Nice.
stuff. Mm-hmm.
Jocelyn?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joss Plays. And also tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, we are going to be playing Sea of Thieves for ever. So if you have any sort of interest in Sea of Thieves at all, do come and check out twitch.tv/JossPlays tonight. Even going to do some pirate cosplay.
Oh, nice. You're going to have a goatee with some beads hanging.
Yes, absolutely.
I see you already got the eyeliner.
Wig full of dreads. Yeah.
You've already got the eyeliner covered. You just need a really bad British accent.
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. You got it covered. Folks, I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. All of the podcasts that I do can be found at amove.tv. Check out my solo show, recently rebranded to R2-T2, because I have to remind people to spell my name with 2 R's and 2 T's. Just did an episode where I talked a decent amount about the changes coming to Battlefront 2 and how I'm not sure it's enough, and also PUBG. So go listen to that. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and until next time, job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
Yes!
I would have laughed if you went R. Cool.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves website is currently down. Apparently, they're
Yeah, everything's down.
Oh,
yeah.
no!
I know.
That's not a big problem.
It's almost like there's a lot of hype for the game or something.
Maybe. This kind of stuff happens on launch days.
I know.
I have a feeling it'll be okay.
Yeah, there's still 3 hours, 2.5 hours.
3-hour tour? Oh.
2.5 hours. I had to do math, okay? Math is hard. 2.5 hours until it's time for the stream. So.
I want to be Skipper. I like his hat.
Mm.
I was thinking about picking the game up. Maybe I'll look into it. Although it seems like a game you have to play with people, right?
That's
like
how
it's not as fun by yourself.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Well, that's all right because we know people.
We do know people.
Yeah, we can make it work.
We do know people.
All right, homies, I'm going to take this dog out. He's yipping at me. What?
The angry chicken.
I know. We're going outside. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, see ya.
See you later.
Bye, chat room.